What up, world? It's your boss, Kamal Nuru, Zoe Mega Millions. Wow. The blade to your fade, the ends to your bends, and the cheers to your shears. You are now watching Barber World TV, the podcast. What's up, world? It's your boss, Kamal Nuru, a.k.a. Zoe Mega Millions, a.k.a. International Zoe. It's my new, how we doing? You're watching Barber World TV, the podcast. It's my pleasure tonight to have the lock star, Tondo Kafele. Welcome to the show, brother.
What's up, Kamal?
You're our first guy that does locks. You know, we've had barbers, we had MCs, comedians, but we never had a lock star in the house. Tell the people where you're from.
I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Born and raised in Bed-Stuy. My roots are from Walterboro, South Carolina.
Okay, Walterboro, South Carolina. How was it growing up in Brooklyn, and what led you into the locks?
Growing up in Brooklyn was Brooklyn. I had no intentions on being a hairstylist. I actually wanted to be a rap artist. But parents don't support situations that they don't see an investment from.
Okay.
So I used to get my hair twisted at Knapp's.
Oh, we know the world famous
Yes.
Knapp's.
The institution,
Yes.
Knapp's. There was a brother named Daryl Bennett who's still doing hair today. And he used to twist my hair. I was fascinated with the technique. And I imitated it. People started saying I was good. Started doing people in the neighborhood.
And you was doing it from home at this time, around what
I
year
was doing
that?
it from my grandmother's house.
Wow. What year around was this?
Oh my goodness. So I have clients that tell me they've been coming to me for 25 plus years.
Wow.
So 25 plus 5 maybe.
Damn.
Years ago.
Damn. That's like 30 years.
I started imitating the way he twisted my hair. I went to Locks and Chops for a formal natural hair education.
I remember that name. Are they still in business?
They are still in business. Wow. They are on 34th Street.
Okay.
Under the tutelage of Ademola Mandela and Mr. Orrin Saunders.
Wow.
You probably know Ademola used to be Bill Lester.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We all got a little change in the name. You know, you get knowledge yourself. You want to do something different.
And so I started doing natural hair, and I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to do something where I could make a difference in the community. And that difference was to teach our people to love, honor, and respect the hair that God gave us.
Right. That's serious, especially these days.
Absolutely.
The weave thing is, it's like a whole nother animal now, you know?
It's
or the wig thing, really, you know what I'm saying?
Because only my grandparents' friends wore wigs.
Right.
And now everybody wears them.
Right.
You know, and it's just like, to me, it's an insanity. It's like certain folks are buying real estate, and we're buying hair.
Yeah. And it's not even nothing like our natural hair.
No. and the insanity comes from choosing to wear a texture that you have no relationship to.
Right. And it usually looks strange on certain hues because sometimes it looks strange on our sisters. But tell me where the name came from, brother. We'll get back to that later.
Where my name came from?
Yes.
So it comes from my clients.
Okay.
I was doing a sister's hair. At the time, I was in search of a name change. I didn't want to walk with a name that didn't mean anything.
Right.
So I was coming into my African consciousness. I did a sister's hair. She looked in the mirror. She said, Tondo. I said, okay. She said, no, Tondo means love. I love my hair.
Wow, okay.
So at the end of the service, she said, I'll see you in 6 weeks, Tondo. I never saw her again.
Wow.
I kept Tondo.
But she gave you something.
Yes. So if you're familiar with the actress Tondi Newton,
Yeah, okay.
Tondo was the masculine.
Okay.
Yes. Kafele. There was a sister who knew I was in search of a name change. She had 10 names. Kafele was number 10. I said, Kafele. I like the way that sounds. I said, what does it mean? She said, worth dying for.
Wow.
I said, whoa. I said, I don't know if I could live up to that. She said, you just try.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, Tondo Kafele.
Yeah. And that's a dope name.
Thank you, sir.
Especially now knowing the meaning and
Yes.
how it came to you.
And how the Lockstar came about was that 25 plus years ago, nobody was really trying to do locks or see it as something viable, you know. And in my head, I think I'm one of the first to do locks at the premiere show, the Bronner Brothers, the IBS, the Talia Wajid natural hair show. And so I think I'm one of the people who set a standard of doing natural hair and making it look attractive.
Right. And you've been in competitions as well, right?
Yeah.
I've seen you
Undefeated.
Yeah. So you're from the era of the James Mack and Tyreek and like people don't know that you're from that era that kind of brought this era on, you know, Glenn Jackson and so on and so forth. Like the only people that's been going to the shows maybe since the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these people maybe only got like 5 years under their belt at going to these events, and they have no idea of how the legend. And you know, I remember like, and you don't just do locks. In that time, you had to put on a show.
Yes.
Which means you had to do hair, nails, makeup, outfits, the whole nine. And right now, you know, we chopped it up and just, you know, you got a little battle. But you come from that era where, you know, it was the whole layout, you know, which took time, effort, money, investment just to perform, just to put on the show. And, you know, I don't think these younger people in this industry even have an idea about that.
Well, that's where the concept hair show comes from.
Yeah.
And it needs to be 50% hair and 50% show.
Right.
You can't have a lot of hair and no show. You can't have a lot of show and no hair.
Right. So tell me about what makes you different in that industry, like your techniques. Like I see what you post on your gram, and it's definitely art.
Thank you, brother.
Just locking the hair is one thing, but you lock the hair and style the hair to another degree. Like you give people, each person like a creation that fits them.
So don't say degree, say levels.
We can say that, no pun intended.
Let's do levels.
Okay, let's do levels.
So how I take it to the next level
right.
is that I don't do anything unless culture's in the conversation.
What do you mean by that? Just break it down.
So there's a lot of online conversations where people say, you don't say, I have locks, I don't have dreads. But if you want to get specific about it, I do African locks.
Okay. Now, why would you say African locks?
Because I speak culture first.
Okay.
So whether you're a braider or whether you're a barber or whether you're a loctician, we are African groomers.
Right. My teacher, Gene Walker, you know, he used to work, that's where I started, right there on 25th and St. Nick. And he changed when, it used to be called West Side Barbershop, but the owner was Willie Lothar.
And when Willie passed on, Gene got the shop, and he changed it to African hair grooming.
Wow.
And that was in probably like in the early 90s. He changed the name to African hair groomers. Yes. So when you say that, I understand where you're coming from. And, some of that has died down, the Afrocentricity, because you had knaps and locks and chops and all this when culture was big, when even in hip hop, when you had, the Jungle Brothers,
Black
Tribe Called
Nubian.
Quest, and all these groups who were into the culture. And I had locks at one point, long down to here, you know what I'm saying? But it was more like naturally groomed. I never went to someone to have them do it. It was like, that's when people were doing it themselves, kind of. Mm-hmm. And even through my time as a shop owner, we've had times where we had locticians in the store, and then you start seeing less and less of it being done, and people moving on. Like Tabitha, she used to work for me, and that's what she did. She did locks mainly. She did some braiding, but we really usually always have to have one loctician, one seat with a loctician, and you don't see that anymore. Like one person that does braids or locks or both in every barbershop or every salon. And which makes it probably better for you because they don't have too many options anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's and when you have to think of, if someone comes in and say, hey, do you know where I can get locks done? Because people come in the barbershop and ask that question. We're still all in the hair industry. And then, you got somebody to say, well, I know Tondo Cafele.
Yeah, but we got to have a conversation first.
Let's talk. Oh, you have to
Yes.
You have to do a consultation.
Yes.
Okay. So what's a consultation like?
I need to find out what your expectations are. Mm-hmm. And I need to be honest and let you know if I can deliver.
And that's based on the condition of their hair?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me some problems that you might run into, or do you feel like you need to pass on that?
If someone questions my price,
okay,
I need to get real clear very quick, whether you're going to be a customer or a client.
Mm-hmm. How often does that happen? Where someone may decide that they can't meet your price?
Not often.
Not often. Not if
They
see the work.
They usually have Googled me,
okay.
or they know the referral comes with.
They're gonna ask that person.
Yeah.
How much is it?
Yeah.
And what's your price range from? I mean, if you care to share, or do you care to wait until they come and see you? It all depends, though. It's a. Okay, let's give me an example. When someone comes to you to start locks, do you do a lot of that, or do you?
I do a lot of
style?
it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's like constantly. It's a revolution. Constantly, people are cutting their locks off. People are starting their locks. Social media has created a tremendous conversation and energy around natural hair and locks. Right. 25 some odd years ago, there was just a handful of us. Right. And now everybody and their mother is trying to do locks.
You think?
Absolutely.
And I'm surprised that you said that, because I don't see anybody coming trying to get a chair and saying they do locks. Like I
really?
Used to. Yeah. I don't have a lot of that, which would lead me to believe that, there's less people doing it. But then again, I'm not totally in that industry and aware of that. So I would normally have someone in every shop that has occupied a chair that did braids and locks, or just locks, or and I don't have that. I had one lady about half a year ago in my shop in Brooklyn on Nostrand, and she didn't stay, but that's what she primarily did, locks and braids.
I think a lot of the locticians seek a cosmetology shop or a braiding shop before they seek a barber shop.
Right.
So coming from Locks and Chops, which is a salon situation, to coming to Denny Mo's, which is a barber shop, some changes. It's very different.
Well, tell me about that. Tell me about that.
I gotta be proactive about the language
Yes.
around certain people, around all people.
Of course. But especially you probably have a large share of female clientele.
Male or female, it don't matter.
Right. But it's even worse with female.
It's the same to me.
Yeah, I could dig it. I could dig it.
The,
Barbershops have that
brothers
challenge.
need the same respect as the sisters do,
You're right. Well, the same level of professionalism, period.
whether they know it or not.
Right. I get you.
You know, so once in a while I gotta check them and be like, "There's no ends in here."
Right.
You know, out of all the things that you can call your brother,
Right.
why that?
Right.
You know, but it's interesting because I think I bring a certain value and contribution to the space, being a senior person and just dealing with certain situations differently.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're the only loctician in the store.
No, there's another
Oh,
sister.
there is a
Yeah.
sister? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, is that better for you that there's someone else there? Like, do y'all, like, if you can't get somebody, you send them to her. If she can't get them, send them to you.
Yeah, we've had that
And have you
interaction.
right?
Yeah.
And have you maybe taught her some techniques and things like that? Has she, like, if you're in a shop with a senior barber and you go in that shop, there's so much you can learn. Like when Denny Mo was in my shop, it was he worked on one side, I worked on the other side, but he made Dynamite a barber. He made one or two guys of those just because they was on the same side as him and they could watch his work. He made these guys into great barbers, you know, directly or indirectly.
I only hope that I can be a contribution to any and everybody in the shop. I think that's one of the main things that the industry is sorely lacking is that mentorship.
Yes.
Everybody wants to be self-taught or self-proclaimed. And so they can do the mechanical, but they don't have a reference of anything else.
Right.
So you can have 100 barbers cutting hair, but if you ask them, what does the red, white, and blue mean?
Right.
They don't know what to tell you.
Right.
You know, if you ask, and they don't have a reference of anything or not much of anything before them.
Right. What do you run into from people who have locks, per se? We're talking about you saying a lot of people want to be locticians now. Do you think, how much is companies like Talib YG, you think, help the industry? Because
Well, let me say something
Okay, go ahead.
before you say that. I don't think a lot of people want to be locticians.
okay,
I think what I see from social media, Instagram and Facebook, is that everybody wants to be a lock stylist.
a lock stylist.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Every day on social media, when it comes to locks, all you see is style, 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 style.
I understand.
Everybody has a conversation around style, but no one is having a conversation around hair care.
Right.
Like no one. You know? And so it's like, it's a interesting conversation because you have to be careful what you say on social media.
Yeah.
Because if you go against the grain, it could be bad for you.
You know what? And I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm going to give you a quick example. Someone posted something to the effect that if you don't have a license, then you're not a barber. And I wrote, I disagree. And I said, I know barbers that don't have a license and they're more professional and more talented than some barbers with a license. And then all these threads back and forth. And I said, and mind you, I'm a licensed barber, I'm a licensed teacher, and I'm a state board examiner. But all these threads go back, and I said, just imagine someone who's been driving a car, who knows how to drive, but you can't say you can't drive you don't know how to drive because you don't have a license. And it just went back and forth with all these, and I understand, is that what you mean? Like what you say, like how people jump all over it, and like it's out there once you say it, and it definitely could backfire on you.
Yeah, I think the conversation that we're having about lock stylists, it's a little bit lighter than that.
Okay.
And I came into this industry militant. So I don't really give a damn what people think.
Yes.
I've always been self-expressed. I came into the industry to make a difference.
Right.
I never came into the industry to be liked.
Right. And even just knowing you, seeing you, not even studying you, still knowing that, you've always been that guy, you know what I'm saying? Always been the same. You never changed up what you do. You know what I'm saying? You always had a certain level of standard.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And respect. So I applaud you for that, brother.
And the standards come from some of my best homies. So my best friend is Mr. Kyle Bullock.
Right.
That's my dude.
Right.
Great
dude. I'm going to have him on the show. We talk.
Yes, I can make that happen for you real quick.
Yeah, thank you.
That's my brother, best man at his wedding, godfather of his child. And so when I was doing locks, there really wasn't a lot of people who were creating standards. And so I also just took a look at different lanes. And I looked at the standards of Kyle Bullock and Mr. Curtis Smith, Doug Tompkins, in Atlanta, one of my biggest inspirations. Fantastic barber, fantastic stylist, showman, the way he works with his wife as a team. The cosmetology industry, the braid industry, there's just certain ways of the standard that I wanted to be that. I never want to be in the conversation of the best.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the best changes all the time.
All the time. All the time.
Change with the wind.
Yes, sir.
Right. So let's talk about the product side of what you do, because with what you do, what you use is important. Correct?
Yeah.
All right, let's
absolutely.
talk about that. Let's talk.
One of my biggest challenges with social media is that a lot of people doing natural hair don't use natural products. It's a blatant irony.
That black gel, that was used for a long time. And what happened with the beeswax and all that back in the days? Talk about that.
You know what? A lot of people say beeswax is not good. It's natural. Certain things can be used in moderation. If people from Rastafarian culture was using beeswax and it worked for them, who am I to say?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But if you're looking at a product that was created by a perm company who's been doing relaxers for 50 years, the question is, and people can gain consciousness whenever they get it.
Right.
But it's like,
nicely put.
When do you, if you haven't had a commitment to our hair first, why should I trust you now?
Right.
And basically the bottom line for me is natural hair is about health. The things we put on our hair, the things we put on our scalp, goes into our bloodstream.
Right.
If you want natural products, don't go to a beauty supply.
Right.
You should be in Whole Foods,
Right.
or you should be in a health food store.
Right.
And I know that's going to cause a lot of waves with the beauty supply industry, because that's where everybody goes. But I don't think the millennials have a mindset for the hair set.
Is it like a lack of education, you think? Or is it a financial thing, do you think?
I think doing locks and the natural hair conversation has rejuvenated a certain kind of energy. Everybody wants to be in the mix or in the conversation. But I think it should always be, am I providing a service or a disservice?
Right.
And am I servicing the client the best way I possibly can?
Right. Right. Any suggestions on what should be used? Any products out there that you like?
I do not promote a product without a
I
check.
could dig it. I could dig it.
So
and
I don't
respect it.
I don't, and I've been through that lane before.
Right. I mean, I've seen you work with some companies.
Yes,
in the
sir.
past that show.
That's taught me a whole lot, and I'm thankful for.
Okay. We're gonna leave that horse down.
But
right
I don't promote products. I promote ingredients.
Okay. So
Yes.
let's talk about ingredients.
Products that sulfate free, no alcohol, no mineral oil. I want clients and I want stylists to be smarter than their smartphone. And I want them to turn the product around. And I want them to look at the ingredients. And if you can't pronounce it, Google it.
Right.
And see if the product is a service to your client's hair and scalp and health
Right.
or not.
Right.
You know, but I know a lot of people, when they look at products, they look at pretty packages and things that smell nice.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's like, you know, situations with breast cancer, you know, people got to watch the deodorant they put on their arm, the stuff they put on their skin, the things they eat, stop microwaving the food. You know, it's a lot.
Yeah. And I noticed there's people who, because of maybe the way their hair was locked, they have breakage and they lose hair. Tell me, like, what could cause that? Maybe what the stylist or loctician might be doing wrong that would cause that.
Loss of hair could be the conversation of overcoloring. It could be pulling too tightly. It could be the use of no conditioner. It could be hereditary. It could be stress. It could be medication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It could be a lot of things.
Right.
It could be your barber cutting too close into the hairline.
Speaking of barbering, do you when you style the hair and lock the hair, do you cut or do you send them to a barber to do the other service? Like if they have that little bit that needs to be tapered here or tape it there, do you leave that to the barber or have you added that to your?
It depends on how technical it is.
Okay.
I have taken a barber class and I got a little barber info. I do not call myself a barber, but I do desire to step up in that conversation.
Right.
But yeah, I do quite often refer the client to a specific barber.
Right.
But the energy got to be right.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, so certain people, I got to be very careful.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yes, sir.
Because even when I'm referring someone in the area to one of the shops, I know based on this person's personality who will be right for them. And certain people I would probably never send someone to, or not anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So because your reference is important, you're sharing someone that you have a relationship with someone else, and you got to put them in the right hands.
Absolutely.
Right. I can get it.
I had a situation today where somebody came into the shop and they were, I hope I'm saying that right, LGBTQ.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
I only know LGB. After that, I get mixed up.
Okay. And so, one, I was surprised that they came to the shop because that's usually not a safe space.
I think a lot of barbershops are receptive to. I mean, it's
Receptive and
it's so
safe.
prevalent though now that it's like, like. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, if their presentation is not something that you're used to, you got to be careful and sensitive about how you greet, how you speak to them, not to say the wrong thing.
Right.
It's very different in 2019. Your conversations got to be really, really careful.
Yeah.
Because, you say the wrong thing or you do the wrong thing.
You be on TV apologizing.
Or, all you got to do is put something on Facebook or
That's
Instagram.
Right. Yeah.
So you got to be sensitive and careful.
Yeah. Clientele now have a lot of power with, they could go to your Yelp page. They can create their own page and really, it's a good thing and a bad thing because sometimes clients or customers abuse it. So you have to be extra sensitive to don't give them any reason at all, and then they have the power to leave it there and maybe not remove it and even be unfair at times. So yes, you're walking on eggshells sometimes.
Yes, sir.
You better, and sometimes it might not hurt the individual barber or stylist. It hurts the business, which is a worse impact. So yeah, I get it. I get it. Where do you see the industry going? Do you like where it is? Is it heading in the right direction? How do you feel about?
As a loctician,
Yes.
I like Facebook and Instagram that it has brought hundreds of millions of conversations around natural hair, to the point where I think in my head, the cosmetology world is nervous.
Yeah, because one thing affects another thing. Always.
Yes, sir.
When everybody was wearing braids, it affected the barber. And that went on for quite some time. I mean, we got our little shape up in, but it definitely changed the industry for some time because everybody was rocking braids. And I think it all started with Tretch. Well, if I'm watching,
Yes.
in my mind, it started with Tretch because, he was because of where he was from and probably the fact of his social status, he went with the braids because he couldn't get he said that in one of his raps. And he's the first MC I saw with braids. And then we saw 10 years of braids. Mm-hmm. Everybody had braids. And we missed out on some of that money. Luckily, we still got the shape up.
Yeah, but you didn't miss out on nothing.
Yeah, I don't mean it literally, but cultures change. The shift in the culture definitely affected what was going on in our industry for some time.
Yes, but the culture will always be black.
Oh, yeah,
the culture will always be African.
Yes.
And so I'm a loctician.
Yes.
No discredit to any of my cosmetology peers.
That's right.
But once you put lye on the scalp, it's not healthy hair.
Right.
And so anytime African people have damaged hair, it's usually from
and
chemicals.
And sisters' hair in general is in worse condition than
Yes,
the brother's
sir.
hair because of those chemicals for those years.
Yes,
There's
sir.
so many sisters with no edges and bald hair, and bald hair and come to us. Even on several occasions, we've cut out the permed hair.
You have to.
And they have to start all over. And I've seen my share of women saying they're done with that. But now it's kind of like.
But it's an insanity because if you see a brother with locks, most of the time they're long and healthy.
Yeah.
Anybody knows if you want long hair, you lock your hair. Mm-hmm. And I know sisters want long hair. Yeah. But there's something about locks that's just too black, too strong, too African to be with. So after all the options are done with, you got to come back to the loctician.
Right.
You got to come back to the braider. You got to come back to the barber.
Got to come back to the natural style.
You got to come back to your natural, healthy state of hair.
Yes. Sisters, you hear that?
And brothers.
We still love you.
Because sisters need to change their, what's the word? They need to change their regimen. Brothers need to change their thinking.
Yeah, it goes both ways because
Yes.
they'll blame some of that on the brothers.
Absolutely.
And I ain't faulting them for that, you know. And the brothers changing their thinking is, yes, you know, we're under the umbrella of being told and showed what beauty is, and we have to, you know, dissect that, and that has to be reprogrammed.
That's why it's so powerful for Jay-Z and Beyonce to let Blue Ivy have a complete freedom with her natural hair.
Yeah, I mean, even Hope got locks now.
A little sign.
Yeah, but you know, but his mom's got locks.
Yes,
and she had them for, I'm sure, a long time.
Yes,
and I'm sure that had something to do with him wearing his hair natural too.
Yes,
you know,
that Brooklyn energy.
Yeah. Brooklyn is the first. You know, it was in Harlem for some time. You know, Harlem had it in the 70s, the 60s, maybe down to the 50s, but like 85 and up, like Brooklyn kind of took on the culture of black people in a lot of ways, and I'm sure Spike Lee and everybody else had something to do with that because Knapp's probably, they did the haircuts in his movies, and then they cut his hair, you know. So yes, I could dig that, you know.
But it's the culture part of it. When you say, where's the industry going? It irritates me that the millennials on social media have conversations around natural hair and don't include culture. We can't have a conversation without culture. It bothers me that the product companies who sell products to black people do it with the exclusion of culture.
Right.
You know, I don't see anybody on the label with kinky hair, with heavy melanated skin, with a red, black, and green energy.
That's a societal thing, though, you know, like, which is part of the problem, you know what I'm saying? Because everyone is sold on what beauty is, you know what I'm saying?
And what it's not.
Right, you know.
That's when it's like they have conversations around Stevie Wonder, and he should cut his locks off because they're thinning. Yeah. But it's like Stevie Wonder shows up to every award show.
That's right.
In African garb.
That's right.
He never wears tuxedos or European clothing.
Right.
And so what they don't understand is Stevie Wonder has a cultural appreciation for his hair and for his clothing and his music.
And for his culture.
That people could remotely understand.
Right.
And we're numb to the fact that we watch BET and most of the people there are not wearing their real hair.
Yeah. Wow. They probably feel like they won't make it if they wear their real hair. You know, this is society's beauty is long, stringy hair. Yeah. You know. All right, that's we going deep here. It's cool though. There's something I wanted to ask you, but I forgot.
You didn't ask me about where's my locks.
Huh?
I cut my locks off.
You did cut your locks off.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you cut your locks off.
Yeah.
Because of,
I'm doing my El DeBarge.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
My wavy thing right now.
I didn't know. I saw a little, So tell us about your locks.
I've had locks for over 20 years. Cultural identity. It was the standard, or I thought it was the standard in what I did. My locks had to be a reflection of what I did in the industry. But leaving locks and chops, I wanted to leave that energy and the locks.
Yes.
So I don't physically have locks anymore.
Right.
But I'm still locked in.
No doubt. And a lot of people believe in the energy in your hair. It's spiritual. People that are spiritual, they believe, is a lot of energy that's in your hair. And if you want to change it, or you want to leave it behind, you have to cut it and start over.
I don't know if I'm going to start over.
But you have to at least,
Yes. Let go.
Right. And it's funny when people go through a big change in their life, or they get divorced, or they separate from somebody. There's a lot of times that people cut their hair because of something happened big in their life.
Yeah, but they don't cut the relaxer. True.
Well, that's another story. What advice do you have for some young hair stylist or young budding loctician wanting to get into the industry?
Be careful of what you ask for. Taking on a clientele holds a lot of responsibility. Culturally, it holds a lot of responsibility. I always feel like the ancestors are watching me. You're dealing with people's crown. You're dealing with people's sensitivity. You're dealing with their self-esteem. And you give so much that at times I have to protect my energy. Learn your craft. Be a mentee to someone. Be a mentee to as many people as possible. Take care of the community. Take care of yourself. After being on your feet for so many hours, treat yourself to a pedicure, a massage, drink plenty of water, eat better, and just basically always keep in mind, am I providing a service or a disservice?
Right. Yeah, and that's interesting because the average barber may have somebody 30 minutes to an hour. You're with the client for
A few hours.
a few hours.
Yes.
That's a big difference.
Yes.
It's a big, like some we could have clients that we don't particularly care for. And we get them in and get them out. But you got to kind of love your clients because you're going to be with them for a couple of hours.
I can't even think if I have any clients that I don't care for. I think I don't attract that energy.
Right.
I think before people make a appointment with me, there's an understanding. And if there's not, I get real clear real quick.
Right.
I just want to wake up, thank God, be creative, be a contribution, and that's it.
Right. Right. So, if someone is seeking your services for their locks or your services or advice as a mentor, how can they contact you?
For services, the King of Lock on Instagram. The King of Lock is not something that I created. It was actually given to me by a master pioneer. I'm so sorry, the name escapes me offhand.
We could come back to it.
We'll get back to it. Marian Council, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Marian Council, one of the first sisters in natural hair who had a licensed braid shop in Brooklyn, actually across the street from Levels on Clinton and Washington and Fulton. After winning so many competitions, she said, "You are the King of Lock." And I said, okay.
Yeah, tell us about the competitions. And I only witnessed one or two. Then it came to a point where you were just showcasing.
The competitions was my vehicle to get my name out there. There were certain people who created standards like John Atchison, Paul Mitchell, Vidal Sassoon, but there were not those big names in natural hair.
Right.
And so I thought that if I went to the natural hair show in Atlanta, that I would have a stage and a platform to create a name for myself.
Right.
The thing was, I misunderstood what winning was.
And explain that.
And so I would invest the time and the energy and the models and the transportation and the food to tell a judge panel who really couldn't do locks better than me that I'm great. And so every year I would come to the competitions, and before I take the stage, I would say, "God, please let me win. Please let me win. Please let me win. God, please let me win." And then I would get a piece of plastic. And I said, "This is winning? What am I winning?" And the couple of times that I didn't win first place, I was a sore loser.
So in closing, love is love, life is life, and loyalty is priceless. You're watching Barber World TV. Peace.